Hello and welcome to week 4 of my 12-week photo challenge series here on YouTube. My name is Kika and today we're going to talk about how to figure out your photography style and staying consistent. It is snowing once again. I'm out here in the countryside filming this video. It's really pretty right now and I'd like to go out and shoot, but it's just snowing so much, so I think we're gonna do this one indoors. Today, I thought we're gonna talk about how to figure out your photography style and staying consistent. This is something that I know can be a tricky pickle to figure out because your photography style is something that really evolves over time, and you can also get really swept away by all kinds of different styles and things you want to try out and experiment with, which is great when you're learning. But then if you really want to maybe grow a following or a brand or establish yourself as a photographer and also just to know what you're about and figure out your style and identity, visual identity, here are going to be some tips and tricks to figure that out, and hopefully will get you just thinking and maybe add some clarity to your own work. And then I also want to talk about being consistent because, as you know, online, and again, as our world is so digital, if you have anything, a brand, a business, a blog, your photography skills, anything that you want to build up, being consistent is so important. But that can also be tough sometimes because motivation and inspiration is not something that is constant and just flowing to us. So I also have some thoughts that I want to share with you that might be helpful for that. Without further ado, let's jump right in. When it comes to figuring out your photography style, a good old mood board is a great place to start. Now, you can obviously make a mood board just to get inspired and soak up that visual juice and really get ideas and pumped and kind of set a little bit of a sort of a vision board for yourself. So visually, what kind of style it is that you'd like to have, and you can do this depending on colors or on moods or type of photography. You really get to decide what it is that, yeah, you're going for, essentially. One of the biggest sort of aha moments when I was starting out, and because I was struggling a lot with trying to articulate and really get clarity into what my style of photography was, because I had just started it pretty intuitively and I would just take photos of things that I thought were pretty or sparked my interest, and I wasn't really thinking about what my style was or my identity, or not really so concerned with that. But at some point it really started to bother me, and I also wanted to have words for it so that I could put it in my bio, or when somebody asked what it was that I was doing in a short introduction, I just didn't really know. So one thing I then did, and this was really a very big breakthrough moment for me, was at that moment I had quite a lot of photos. I had maybe been taking photos for a little bit less than a year, these like artistic photos, and I would print them all out on papers, and then I would cut them out and have them all spread out on a table in front of me. And then I would start to look at them and go through them and sort them into piles depending on themes. And I came up with these themes myself. I wasn't really sure at the moment. I was sort of just looking at them going like, oh, here, these both have coffee cups in them, or these both have a very calm and blue tone in them, and really intuitively starting to put them into small sections and small groups together. And then I left them for a bit, came back to it the next day and did it again, took away some photos that I felt like these weren't really aligned or they just didn't inspire me so much, and I kind of put them to the side. And then I was left with, I think, 10 to 12 groups, and I tried to give these names, and I came up with these kind of hashtaggy names. So I had my magical landscapes and along those lines, so it wasn't that deep or anything. But I remember when I saw all these in front of me, it somehow suddenly allowed me to see a bigger picture of my style was, or where I was heading, and also which photos that I had taken that I really felt like were true to me and were the path I wanted to continue to walk along. And the photos, maybe the things that I had experimented with, but that just didn't feel like, nah, this is not something, that was a good experiment, but I'm not going to continue along those lines. So that's something that you could do. So kind of creating a mood board of your own photos. But again, if you're just starting out, you maybe don't have so many photos. So then you can also find inspiration from mood board, from Pinterest, from Instagram, anything, you know, magazines or commercials. And really just try to visually see what is the style that you'd like to have, your ideal style, so to say, and your vision. And then you can even try to give that a name or even just some keywords. I think always when we articulate things, it maybe becomes a little bit more clear to us. One thing to take into consideration when you're trying to figure out your photography style is that there will probably be some overlap, and then there will be some contradictions in your reality and the photos that you're able to take, and then your vision and your ideal style, so to say. And I think where your style comes in is that place where those two overlap, so your reality and your vision. So maybe you have all these ideas of what kind of photos you'd like to take, and you get really inspired and you do that mood board, but if your mood board consists of exotic places and beaches and stuff, and you live in a place like I do, Winterland, that's probably not so realistic. It's going to be very hard to try to get that kind of vibes and emotions and just physically locations into my photography. So I think you have to be a little bit realistic, and I think when you get that balance of also learning to utilize what you have and seeing the potential around you, like I time and time again talk about, it's not the resources that you have, but how resourceful you can get, and trying to urge you to really use what you have and work with what you have. And just because it's not something that maybe you've seen in like all the Instagram photos or all the pictures that you're pinning on Pinterest doesn't mean that there isn't something there that you can use. So I think it's a lot about training your eye and practicing that, and also looking for them really consciously. And like we talked about in the first Mindset Monday video, really again being in tune with what sparks you visually, that interest. One other big discovery that I made maybe a few years ago was to start to create themes and series. I actually think that repeating yourself when it comes to, well, especially being online, but also I think just we're so used to thinking of this culture of just now, and there always has to be something new and original and what's the next idea, that sometimes we get caught up and we maybe forget the value of actually having a body of work where there's a series and a theme that you explore more than just one time. Because when you do something many times, it's more likely that you'll get deeper and you'll uncover new things. So I've done different types of series, and I have themes that are very often in my photos, and maybe sometimes even repetitive, and then you have to keep in check that when something starts to be an autopilot and now you're just repeating because you maybe get a little bit lazy or you don't have new ideas, so you have to of course also experiment. But I really found that it helped me to, again, establish my brand, if you can call it that, by doing these series and themes. So I think that's a really good thing to do. And think about, maybe you're doing a theme of photos or a series of photos that they all match up and have a bigger story, and that something happens. So it's not just that one frame and always having to start from the beginning, but that actually that you have existing knowledge already that you can build upon. When it comes to being consistent, I think one good question to ask yourself is, what is it that prevents you from being consistent? And what I mean is that, are there any things or any patterns that you see repeating that prevents you from being consistent? So this could be a lack of motivation, or that you don't have time, or you're not planning or prepared enough, or maybe you're swayed by not feeling self-confident, and all these different things that could stand in the way of being consistent. Because I think, again, if you want to evolve and develop as a photographer or in anything creative, you do have to put in and make that time to practice, because just thinking about something is not really going to allow you to move forward with the next idea. Or that's at least how I usually feel. If I just think about it and I don't actually do it, I will not get that next idea. So I have to actually be consistent and yeah, put in that effort and just like try to be prepared to, even though sometimes I maybe don't feel so inspired and I don't want to do it, to go out there and shoot and grab my camera and see what happens. So yeah, just taking a moment and realizing what it is that prevents you from being consistent. And one thing, for example, for me, planning helps me be consistent and really setting aside time and knowing when I'm gonna go out and take a photo or do these videos, and just making a little bit of a schedule for myself. And that's also the next thing then to think about, is just identifying things that helps you be consistent. And one thing that I really feel like has helped me a lot is to create these projects where I make myself accountable to show up. So for example, this 12-week photo challenge project that I'm doing here, I've announced to the world that I'm gonna do one video each Monday and each Thursday, and then I better show up because I don't want to let you down and I don't want to disappoint myself. So, and then usually when I have that, it helps me stay consistent because I don't have to think or worry so much about, oh, what should I do or which direction to take, or should I or shouldn't I? No, I just have to get going and, okay, I know that on Monday I'm gonna have a video, on Thursday I'm gonna have a video, so then I just do it. And the same is I've taken or done these photo challenges on Instagram, where the challenge was just to post one photo a day for 30 days. And there also then becomes so much easier to get over myself and out of my head and overthinking and overanalyzing, should I or shouldn't I post, or oh, what should I post? Because I just have to do it because it's the bigger project and that I've made this commitment. So something like that, you could create your own project or challenge. And I mean, taking part in this challenge, I think is great because this will really push you to keep consistency and go out there every week and take a new photo and try to push your creative boundaries a little bit. So yeah, there are some thoughts about consistency, and obviously sometimes we need to take a break and inspiration is not something that always is present, but I also think it's a misconception to think that you have to be inspired to create. Sometimes it's actually just getting started, and then that will lead to inspiration, and sometimes it won't lead to anything, but that's also part of the process. I hope these tips gave some value to you and maybe will help you figure out your photography style. And do go and download the workbook that I put together. It's free and you can download it in the link below. There are some questions that will help you even further if this is something that you're pondering and wondering about. Alright, on Thursday there is going to be a new photo challenge, so I hope to see you there. Remember to subscribe so you get notified every time there's a new video here on Monday and Thursday. And let me know in the comments below what kind of style you'd like to have, or photography style, or what are the things that you're struggling with, or maybe even more helpful, what are the things that really helped you to find it out. And also put your Instagram handle down below so we can come and support you. And remember the hashtag kikasphotochallenge. So many things to remember to say here. All right. Thank you for hanging out with me again. I hope you're gonna have a lovely afternoon, morning, evening, night, wherever in the world you are, and I will see you soon.
Hello, hello,
bye.
a bee in my bonnet, hello. There's a bee in my bonnet, hello, hello. A bee in my bonnet, hello.